Here's everything you might have missed in the first look at Cowboy Bebop. Well, folks, Netflix apparently thinks it's time we blow this scene, so they got everybody and their stuff together on Monday morning before they said 3, 2, 1, let's jam. And then they released our first look at the highly anticipated live-action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop. Based on the critically acclaimed 1998 anime series, Cowboy Bebop stars John Cho, Mustafa Shakir, and Danielle Pineda as Spike Spiegel, Jet Black, and Faye Valentine, respectively. As the crew of the eponymous Bebop, these bounty hunters, aka cowboys, travel the galaxy in the far-flung future of 2071, running missions in a sci-fi noir world while listening to sweet jazz tunes and contemplating the human condition. This adaptation features both an original score composed by living legend Yoko Kanno, who scored the original anime, and enlisted OG director Shinichiro Watanabe as a creative consultant to ensure it would live up to fans' staggering expectations. The series, which debuts globally on November 19th, has been in the works since at least November 2018 when it was first announced to much fanfare and even more raised eyebrows. As anyone who watched their Death Note adaptation can tell you, well, translating anime into live action is challenging, to say the least. And that's me being nice about it. Now, though, Netflix has finally given fans their best look yet at what these beloved characters will look like in live action. On Monday, Netflix unleashed a cavalcade of images and an official synopsis, which might reveal more than you'd expect about this series. As always, if you prefer to read all about it, Amy Ratcliffe has you covered over on Nerdist.com. We're going to break down the images and explain the synopsis in just a moment, but if you prefer to go into this experience completely in the dark, make like Ein and hop on out of here. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? Let's start with the synopsis. Cowboy Bebop is an action-packed space western about 3 bounty hunters, aka cowboys, all trying to outrun the past. As different as they are deadly, Spike Spiegel, John Cho, Jet Black, Mustafa Shakir, and Faye Valentine, Danielle Pineda, form a scrappy, snarky crew ready to hunt down the solar system's most dangerous criminals for the right price. But they can only kick and quip their way out of so many scuffles before their pasts finally catch up with them. Now, the first and most immediate things many longtime fans of Cowboy Bebop might notice is there's a major character missing from this description. You may know her as Francois Appledelly or Edward Wong Hao Pepelu Tiveruski IV, but to most of us, she's simply Ed or Radical Edward, the teenage hacker that's a key member of the Bebop crew. And given that there hasn't been any casting news about Ed thus far, it's entirely possible she might not be a part of this adaptation at all. But fingers crossed we'll see her make an appearance later on in the season. Anyway, moving on, let's go through each of these photos that Netflix shared on Monday. The first is a group shot of Spike, Jet, Faye, and Ein walking in an alleyway. In the background, you can spot a neon sign for C'est La Vie, a bar and pool hall on Mars featured in episode 20 of the original series, Pierrot Le Fou. For some context about the characters in case you're uninitiated to the world of Cowboy Bebop or it's just been a while, Spike Spiegel is our ostensible main character, a former member of the dangerous Red Dragon crime syndicate. He fell in love with a woman named Julia and decided to escape a life of organized crime by faking his death. As a bounty hunter, he travels the galaxy with Jet and tries his damnedest to avoid Vicious, his rival in both the crime syndicate and for Julia's affections. Jet Black is an ex-space cop from the Intersolar System Police turned bounty hunter and captain of the Bebop. In the decade prior to the original anime series timeline, Jet's old partner, a man named Fad, betrayed him, shooting Jet in the arm, which required him to get the prosthetic metal arm you'll see in the series. Faye Valentine is the femme fatale of the series, and her youthful looks belie a startling secret. She was actually cryogenically frozen for 54 years, which means that she's closer to her late 70s in this show. In the original anime, Faye was both a bounty target and a bounty hunter, something I'm sure won't come back to haunt her in this show, right? As for that adorable dog, well, that is Ein, the crew's pet corgi, who isn't just incredibly cute, but is actually a genius-level data dog. Case in point, over the course of the original show, we saw Ein do everything from drive a car to hack a computer system to play shogi. So fingers crossed we'll see just as many adorable antics from this handsome hound in the new show as well. In the next photo, we see a shirtless, absolutely ripped John Cho as Spike practicing his Bruce Lee-inspired Jeet Kune Do using a wooden training dummy. As anyone who's marveled at the Spike vs. Electro fight in Cowboy Bebop the movie will tell you, he is not a man to be trifled with. After that, we come to one of the most important photos of the bunch. We see Spike, gun in hand, walking through the rubble of a church. A dead body in the background tells us that some shit just went down. Now, this is very clearly the infamous church shootout scene from Cowboy Bebop Episode 5, Ballad of Fallen Angels, in which Spike battles his perpetual rival, Vicious. The scene in the original anime was an homage to John Woo's The Killer, and it ends with Spike flying through a stained glass window, his life flashing before his eyes. Only time will tell what the live-action version has in store for our hero, but it's probably not going to be good. After that, we see Faye in action pointing a gun at some mysterious person off camera and standing in front of a stage. This is most likely the Rester House Jazz Club, a nightclub on Callisto, the moon of Jupiter. It was featured heavily during the two-part Jupiter Jazz storyline in the original series, which revolves around Gren, a saxophonist that has connections to both Vicious and Julia. Gren is a canonically gender-fluid character in the original show who's now being played by non-binary actor Mason Alexander Park in the series. After that, we come to a pair of photos of the crew hanging out on the Bebop, their trusty ship, and their home away from home. It's an overhauled fishing trawler, but the Bebop central area is now used as a living room of sorts, right down to the yellow couches that we see here. In the shot of Spike sitting on the couch, we can see a number of vinyl records and a pachinko machine, I think. It's unclear if that giant orange door with the 5 on it leads to someone else's quarters, another area on the ship, or if it connects directly to Spike's personal ship, the Swordfish 2. In the group shot, we see the record player for those records in the other photo behind the couch, and we see on the coffee table a bowl of peanuts, a book that I can't quite make out, and a copy of Gang Gang magazine with a feature all about cowboy killers, probably a list of people our heroes want to avoid or maybe capture to cash in on the bounties on their heads. Now, the penultimate image features Jet Black crouching in an alleyway with a flipped-over car burning behind him, and honestly, I'm a little unclear about where and when this takes place or what it could be alluding to in the original anime, but it could be Spike overreacting after Jet cooks him bell peppers and beef with no beef again, but more likely this is from an early episode riffing on Asteroid Blues, where Jet and Spike chase down this guy Asimov, a syndicate criminal who's high out of his mind on Red Eye, or Bloody Eye, a performance-enhancing drug that has some eye-popping side effects. And last but not least, we have a solo shot of Spike Spiegel in his signature blue suit and yellow shirt, rocking a pair of headphones that I mostly remember him wearing in Cowboy Bebop the movie, if I'm being perfectly honest. Regardless, John Cho looks absolutely incredible here, and I just can't wait to see him and the rest of the gang in action as they bring one of my all-time favorite shows to glorious live action. Anyway, folks, there you have it. That is everything we spotted in the first look at Netflix's Cowboy Bebop series. We're going to be waiting with bated breath until the series premieres on November 19th, and we'll see you, Space Cowboy, over on Nerdist.com in the meantime. Until then, though, tell us, what do you think of this first look at Cowboy Bebop? Did you spot anything that we missed? And what do you hope to see from this series? Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, make sure you stay tuned to Nerdist.com.